Hey everyone! The VOD you're about to watch was originally live streamed on Twitch, but I know some of you prefer a different platform to watch on or to watch whenever you want at your leisure. Or maybe it's years from now and you're just now joining us and checking out my archives. And either way, welcome. I typically stream on Twitch on Sundays at 11 a.m. Eastern. If you'd like to join us live, you can find the links to my Twitch page and all of my other social media down in the description. I am just starting out, so bear with me. Style under construction. If you have any comments or feedback, feel free to leave them in the comments. And if you'd like this, I'd really like it if you would like and subscribe. It really helps me out. I'm very grateful. I'm super excited about this content that I'm creating, and I hope you guys are too. I love hearing from you. So without further ado, I hope you enjoy this video. Thanks a bunch. Good morning. Let's see, I've messed with my camera placement a little bit, so bear with me for a second. No, move this over here. Okay. I'm awake. I'm prepared. I swear. Alright, can I? Because I was hoping. Haha, I can get it further down. Okay. Okay. Yeah, that'll do. Good morning, Kifa. Hello. So, I actually have a couple housekeeping notes. First and foremost, I may be expanding my streaming schedule a bit. Hopefully, fingers crossed. Morning, Yalk. Because it looks like I've gotten this new job. It's not 100% yet. I don't have the offer in hand yet. But when I had my second interview on Tuesday, she said she was hoping to make her final decision by the end of day Wednesday. And by the end of day Wednesday, she asked me for my references. So I'm hoping that's a really, really good sign. And I'm hoping to hear back by hopefully tomorrow or Tuesday with the actual offer. So, fingers crossed. I may have more time and energy in the future. And more monies, which is also helpful, but mostly the time and energy thing. And good morning, Kate. Not good news yet. Same news as yesterday. Oh, so many cats. And good morning, Dancer. The other bit of housekeeping I have to do is, I have a nifty chat command. So, as some of you may have already heard, no, I gotta spell it right. A bunch of his friends have set up a GoFundMe for my friend Chris, to get his top surgery done, because fuck waiting on the government to do things. We're just gonna do it ourselves. So the GoFundMe is live. You can donate directly to it. Any little bit helps. I mean, if you can't donate monetarily, we totally understand that. Even spreading the word is helpful. But keep checking the page, because there's gonna be a lot of cool stuff going live. I know Merlin, who is in chat, morning Merlin, as well as a bunch of other artists, are going to be offering commissions in exchange for donations. There's going to be a zine going live. I'm actually working on developing some trans flag FF14 Jobstone shaker charms. where all of the proceeds will be going toward Chris's fund. So yeah, keep checking the GoFundMe page, because there's going to be some really cool stuff going up. But yeah, any little bit helps. We really appreciate it. Chris is a great guy. We really want to give him the body that makes him happy. So, oh, and good morning, Kitsune. I just have so many friends this morning. Is this because we're all Julie deprived today? Oh god, what is this music? Turn my headphones down. But yes, good morning everyone. We are back to Patchwork this week. At least for a little bit. If we actually finish this entire round, I might pivot to something else. But we'll see if I actually get through this entire round. That's true. Yeah, Julie wouldn't be starting yet anyhow. I mean, still in bed is also awesome. I definitely woke up and like laid in bed for a good half an hour, just kind of staring at the clock going, I don't have to be up yet, this is fine. But yeah, trans flag anything is rad, Yalk. I actually have some trans color yarn myself and I'm trying to decide what to do with it. Because I only got one ball of it. Well, like one, it's a big ball. It's the same as... It's the same size as this, and it's the same, it is Lion brand, it's this yarn, but in trans colors, basically. So I think I have enough to make a shawl out of it. I need to finish Merlin's cardigan first, because I'm almost to the point of putting sleeves on that. But then I think I might try my hand at a trans flag shawl. Oh goodness. Wide variety of wake up times. Oh no, Kite. Yeah, that sucks. I've definitely had nights like that. I had weird dreams last night that were like that line between weird and bad, but now I don't remember them. So, but yeah, I'm sorry, Kite. Take a nap. If you can. Naps are good. But yeah, Merlin, your cardigan's actually coming along. I keep making Kaylee try it on. I'm like, here, try this. I need to see how big it's getting. But I think I've almost got the body done. And then I'll be able to put sleeves on. I mean, I know the other day I had a dream that, so I grew up in the US and my parents and my siblings still live down there. So I dreamed that Kara and I moved back to the States to be closer to my parents. And we ended up living... the only house we could afford was at the foot of Ohio's only volcano, which, spoiler alert, Ohio has 0 volcanoes. But in my dream, it was like erupting, and we had to do the thing where we ran around with water bottles and like spritzed the lava to turn it to rock before it reached our house. It was very weird. I sort of use a symbol for sewing kifa, so this is my thimble. I really dislike the ones that cover the tips of my fingers, especially for patchwork, because I have to manipulate the pieces and bend them so much. I want to be able to feel them. So I tried silicone ones, I tried metal ones, I tried ceramic ones. I hated all of them. But I still need something to be able to push the needle, so I decided I would just make one myself. So this is just a piece of scrap cloth that I folded over, I think it's 4 layers of cloth, and sewed it. So it works for me to be able to push the needle, but then still be able to manipulate and feel things. So it's my own specialty thimble, I guess. Like, I even tried the ones that are designed specifically for quilters and just didn't like them. Um, Also, that's a fair point, Yalk. Ohio has corn. Okay, we've got plenty of corn. It's fine. Corn is fine. At least our roads are not full of potholes. God, the last time I went down to visit my parents, I drove. Um, so I crossed the Rainbow Bridge at Detroit and drove down 75. And the roads in Michigan are awful. Or at least they were at the time. It was like constant pothole. And then as soon as I crossed the border into Ohio, it was fine. Smooth sailing. But yes, I'm from I'm from just north of Dayton, so I am well used to all of the Michigan, Ohio saltiness, my friend. You'll probably understand this. I grew up, and my parents still live about 20 minutes from the 70-75 interchange. That is a nightmare. I will bend over backwards rather than having to drive through that mess. It's been under construction literally my entire life, and it's the worst. So the Appalachians and the Caledonian Mountains are the same mountains. They predate the Atlantic. Oh, that's cool, Kite. So just one day there was a river that kept getting wider and wider and wider until eventually it became an ocean. That's really neat. But it makes sense. Most of my nightmares are, like my actual nightmares that leave me waking up shaking, are really weird, like anxiety nightmares. Like one of the ones I remember most vividly is from when I was in university, and I had a nightmare that my Japanese professor called me into his office and just started yelling at me about how terrible my Japanese was, and that I would never be able to speak Japanese well, and that I should just give up. And I woke up like shaking and crying, and then I realized that for the entire dream he had been yelling at me in Japanese. Like, it was really, really weird. But yeah, most of my dreams are kind of along that line. Or like, I dream that I'm back in high school and I'm late for a class and I can't find it, or I don't remember I have a class until after it's already over, and I like flip out. Yeah, that's fair to answer. I do drive, but not very often, just because we don't have a car, and the bus system in this city is okay. I mean, it's good enough for not having a car. Um, if I start working this new job, it would be nice to save up and get one, but maybe not with the way gas prices are right now, because they just keep going up. So that might get delayed, because we don't really need a car the way we are right now. In fact, my new job will be literally 3 minutes from my house. It'll be fantastic. I won't even have to bus anymore. I'll just be able to walk. If yeah, Dancer, that sucks. Luckily, I've never had ones along that line. Most of mine are the weird high school ones. Kara gets like weird zombie nightmares occasionally, even if she hasn't. Like, she definitely cannot watch horror movies or zombie movies right before bed. But even if she hasn't, she'll sometimes get weird, like, zombie nightmares. She was telling me about one. She had one once where, like, her mom had turned into a zombie, but nobody else would believe her when she was trying to, like, warn people. Yeah, it's not great, because she'll actually wake up, like, shaking and crying and shit.
I mean, I guess that's a solution, Merlin. But maybe try some soothing soundscapes? But no, that's fair. Brains are stupid and weird. We should all just, like, give up on brains. Stop having brains. I mean, you still have to deal with having the M25 nearby, though, eh? Because I'm betting that's a lot of, like, noise pollution and, like, smoke pollution, car pollution. Yeah. Weirdly, I get worse anxiety if I'm in the car with somebody else driving than I am if I'm driving. I guess because if I'm the one driving, I know that I'm in control of it. Whereas if it's anyone else, especially my dad, I hate driving in the car, or I hate being in the car with my dad driving. Because it's not that he's an unsafe driver or that he's a bad driver. He just doesn't drive the way that I would. And it freaks me out, especially if we're on in like traffic or something. It just gives me real bad anxiety. I'm just like, Dad, please no. I'll just drive, it's fine. Or let Mom drive, please. Ooh, Curse Chat field trip to London. That would be nice. Tea time with Kite would be fantastic. I'm jealous that y'all are having a meetup in Seattle this summer. I wish I could get out there, but there's no way. Scones. Oh, that does sound good. I have muffins downstairs. Does that count? No, I know it doesn't. But it's a baked good. I know you're not asking me, Yalk, but English breakfast all the way. Earl Grey tea is blah. I'm not a fan. Even when it's like in something, like Earl Grey scones or something, I don't like it. I don't know what it is. It's just I don't think it's the bitterness. There's just like that smokiness that Earl Grey has. I'm not a fan of it. But I love English breakfast tea. And Scottish breakfast tea and Irish breakfast tea. Like, give me the thick black teas that I can put 5 spoonfuls of sugar in and turn into syrup. It's okay, Dancer. I drink enough tea for you. We have an entire kitchen cabinet that's just loose leaf teas that we probably should go through and clean out because some of them are probably expired. But yeah, we drink a lot of tea because Kara and I both, like, I tend to prefer the black teas and she tends to prefer the fruit and herbal teas, but we both drink both, so we just kind of accumulate a lot of tea. Because there's also a tea shop in the mall where we work, so every time we pass by, we'll see like their new seasonal displays, and we'll be like, "Oh, that tea looks delicious. Let's get 50 grams," and then we drink it, just not quite fast enough. Yeah, that's fair, Dancer. Oh no. Fruit teas give you a headache? I've never heard of that. Interesting. Yeah, Kara calls me a tea witch because she'll look at me and she'll be like, I want a tea, but I don't know what tea. And then I'll go and just make the perfect tea for her. Normal flour reinforced with something. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's fair. Um, I probably wouldn't be a good English person though, because I'm also that sacrilegious person that lets my tea steep forever. Like I'll put the British breakfast tea in a tea bag and then just let it sit in the mug while I drink it. And so it gets progressively stronger and stronger and stronger. And that's the best way to drink it for me. Ooh, Kitte's entire collection of teas and baked goods. I would love to. Oh yeah, the scent. That makes sense. That makes sense, Kifa. Oh, so I can actually, I have a little bit more news. So, this blanket is a very belated wedding present for my brother and sister in law. Um, I'm kind of hoping to finish it over the summer because we're hoping to go down and see them this winter. Because I found out my sister in law is pregnant. And I actually just found out yesterday they're having a little boy. So I'm going to have a tiny little nephew to go visit. So I've actually already started his baby blanket. My sister also crochets, so she's making crochet blankets. And she found a really pretty pattern for stars, to make like stars inside a square for granny squares. So she's doing that for a baby blanket. So I decided, okay, well, I will do stars too. So I've got a paper piecing pattern that makes stars. And I'll be quilting them onto a square, like a square piece of cloth, and then to be able to build the blanket. But I've got a crap ton of stars to make. So I guess if we finish this round, I can pivot to making a few stars. I've got all the fabric for it cut already. It's the same thing. It's English paper piecing, same as this. So I'll be trying to get that done over the summer as well. But yeah, it's exciting. This will be my parents' first grandchild. Because Kara and we already know we're not having children. It's not something that either of us feels like we can handle, and it's not something that either of us is really. We're not baby people. We're not children people. It's not something that's in our life plan. And my parents have actually been really, really good about that. There's been no pressure for grandchildren for us. It might partially be because we're lesbians, and so my parents know that if we were going to have children, it would be a lot of expense and a lot of jumping through hoops. And also they have 2 other children they can bug. Sasha absolutely counts. That's what we keep telling them, and Jade also counts. Yeah, my parents have actually been really, really good about that too. That Kara and I basically just adopted Jade, fully grown, because Jade is absolutely family. She's kind of half sister, half daughter. Like, she's absolutely our family, and my parents have been really, really good about just kind of accepting her into that. But yeah, so my sister and her husband, I know they want kids, but my brother-in-law is still in school, so I know that they're being responsible and waiting until after he's out of school and they're a little bit more stable as far as living situation goes. So we've all been betting that my brother is going to be the first one, and sure enough, he's the first one to have kids. Um, but yeah, he and my sister-in-law are both super outdoorsy, super adventurous. So yeah, this kid's gonna have a lot of adventures. And I've already started buying baby clothes to gift to them, as well as blankets and such. So this kid's gonna be a tiny bit spoiled. But yeah, it's exciting. It's gonna be the first time I'm an auntie. Is that lined up? Yeah, it's lined up. There we go. Y'all cast strong opinions about stitch length and sewing? We may have to revisit this. But yes, lurk, crochet away. Is quilting fabric suitable for sewing clothes out of? Short answer, yes. Long answer, it depends on the clothes. Quilting fabric is just cotton. So everything I'm using is just 100% cotton. So anything you can make cotton out of, or anything you can make out of cotton, I should say. I've made sundresses out of quilting fabric. You can do t-shirts or blouses depending on what the pattern and cut is. Obviously it's not suitable for everything. But yeah, quilting fabric is just, I should say 98% of the time, it's just 100% cotton. Sometimes you'll get slightly different compositions in some of the fancier fabrics or the more designer fabrics, I guess. It should say when you order them, but most of the time if you're looking at quilting fabric, you're just looking at cotton. Yeah, skirts too, for sure. I actually have a really cute sundress. I don't think it fits me anymore, unfortunately. But I have a really cute sundress that I just made out of an old bed sheet that I found at Value Village. It was just a top sheet, and I really, really liked the patterning on it. And I was like, this is just a giant piece of fabric. I'm just gonna make a dress out of it. It's fine. I should probably put lining in it at some point. Oh, I've done that too, Kitsune. I will post pictures in the Discord after stream, if I can find them. Well, 8 years ago, 10 years ago at this point, when Kara and I were into Axis Powers Hetalia, there was a set of illustrations that the author had done of various characters in Halloween costumes, and one certain group of characters had dressed up as like the story of Little Red Riding Hood. So there was Little Red, the Big Bad Wolf, the Huntsman, and Grandma. And so me and Kara and two of our friends decided that for a con we were going to do those specific costumes. So for Little Red Riding Belgium, the skirt was a giant like patchwork skirt that we made by hand, and it looks freaking amazing. We still have it because it took us forever. We're never getting rid of that. The costume ended up looking rad. But yeah, we made the skirt by hand. and it's incredible because it's. I think we did 5 or 6 inch squares, so I mean they're nice, decently big size squares, but it's like a full length. Well, not. It's like a T length, very fluffy because she had a crinoline on under it. Very fluffy skirt. That was really fun though, because we had to spend like. So after I got all the fabric cut, of course, we had to spend an entire evening laying it all out on the floor and then like swapping pieces around to make sure that all the different fabrics were nicely spread out and that nothing was too close together and that all the stripes looked, flipping the direction of the stripes. And it was interesting. It was like doing a weird kind of puzzle because you just kind of kept swapping pieces around until it looked right. But yeah, that's kind of the extent of my clothes sewing. Is I've made a couple really simple sundresses and skirts, and I've done cosplay pieces. Like I made a long hooded cloak for a cosplay once. Um, but most of my sewing's been quilting and patchwork, just because that's what interests me more. Um, it's not that I couldn't learn more complicated clothing sewing, I just haven't really had the motivation to. Um, Especially when I've already got quilts to work on. So, maybe in the future, I'll take another stab at clothes sewing. But it's definitely like a different skill set, weirdly. Like it's still sewing, but it's stare at it, take a break, rinse and repeat. Yeah, that sounds right. Yeah, I'm old, Kitsune. And I've been in fandom a really, really long time. Um, okay, if you want a real blast from the past, so here's my fandom history. So, when I was in my very early teens, so like I'm talking 13, 14, 15, um, my earliest fandoms that I ever started writing fanfics for and like really engaging with the fandom were Digimon Adventure and Gundam Wing, mostly. From there, I fell over ass backwards into Yu-Gi-Oh in a really, really big way. Oh. Come on, OBS. You can do it. Don't make me plug in the Ethernet cable. I'll do it. No, it's me. Oh, helps if I take the headphones off before I stand up. think that's better. My kilobytes per second is back up. Okay, now we're back in the green. Cool. That should be better, at least somewhat. Mini cat picture. Those are all the cats I have known in my life, plus Merlin's 2 cats. Okay, good. Better now. Excellent. Yeah, I don't know. OBS just suddenly decided to drop to like 100 kilobytes per second for no particular reason. Thank you, OBS. And or Twitch and or my internet. Who knows? But yeah, yeah, so pause and unpause. Okay. Okay. Check and see. Oh, yeah. I thought I had it. I think I have it set that it should automatically update when I start it, if it needs to, but yeah, I'll double check that. Yeah, so my first fandoms were Digimon and Gundam Wing, and then I fell over ass backwards into Yu-Gi-Oh! For years and years and years. Because I was that little girl that had the serious, like, Egyptology phase, where I was just completely obsessed with everything Egypt related. So Yu-Gi-Oh! Came along at just the right moment for me to become completely obsessed with it. I didn't even care about the card game. I cared about, like, the characters and the history and all of the Egypt stuff. And then I'm trying to think, what did I... Yeah, I was Egypt. I was absolutely the little Egypt nerd. What? I had to have been... See, I think you're a little bit younger than me, Kifa. My sister was really into the Percy Jackson books. But they were a little bit... I was already past that reading level when they came out, I guess. I had to have been into something between... Oh, yeah, Tsubasa. I'm like, there had to be something between Yu-Gi-Oh! And Hitalia. Yes, it was Tsubasa. Oh, yeah, Kifa, you're actually exactly the same age as my little sister. I was born in 88, so yeah, I'm a bit older than you. My sister was 93. Yeah, so... After Yu-Gi-Oh! So Yu-Gi-Oh! Hilariously, is how I met my wife. She was reading my fanfics, and we actually met through a mutual friend. She was reading my fanfics and offered to, like, beta read them for me. So we just started talking and became best friends, and then eventually started dating. Yeah. Oh, good morning, Dobby. Or good evening for you. Good afternoon. So yeah, my wife and I met through Yu-Gi-Oh! And then we both kind of jumped into Tsubasa together. Because we were doing a lot of roleplay together, which is what helped us become really good friends. So we were into Tsubasa. To the point where I was actually in Japan when the last couple chapters of the manga were released. And so I actually, like, went to the store the morning they released, grabbed the Japanese, the books they were in, brought them back to my apartment, photographed them all, uploaded them, and, like, emailed them directly to the team that was doing the scanlations. Because we were all, like, so on edge and pins and needles to see the last couple chapters that we wanted to get them translated as fast as we possibly could. It was pretty great. And And actually, so fun fact, since some of you know Tsubasa, so this is my wedding ring. Let's see if I can actually get it to focus. So Kara had my wedding ring custom made, and my wedding ring is one of Sakura's feathers. It's silver and enamel. We had a local jeweler, Silver Dragon Jewelry in Montreal, actually made this custom for us. And Kara's wedding ring is it's a gold band because she has to have solid gold for allergy reasons. So hers is a plain gold band that has Kurogane's family dragon etched into it. Because I was joking that she needs all the help she can get, and it's a guardian dragon. So yeah, her wedding ring has the Suwa family dragon on it. So both of our rings are Tsubasa nerdery. Did I put that back on backwards? I did. There we go. Yeah, so that, I mean, because Tsubasa was so much a part of why we became friends and why we became so close. It's still a series that holds a really big place in both of our hearts. But yeah, once Tsubasa ended in 2009, I think, is when we both kind of fell into Hitalia for quite a while, actually. Our engagement photos, and so I've mentioned before, I think, that Kara proposed to me in cosplay. We were cosplaying the Netherlands and Canada from Hitalia when she proposed. And we also did our engagement photos as the Netherlands and Canada at the Tulip Festival in Ottawa. Because we decided we already live in Ottawa, why not? I can post some of those pictures on the disco if anyone's interested in seeing them. But yeah, it was heckin' adorable and heckin' nerdy. Absolutely Netherlands represent. It's slightly awkward because I am not in fact Dutch. And because of Hitalia and because of cosplaying the Netherlands, I know way more about the Netherlands than I possibly should. I confuse Dutch people all the time because I'll just know stuff. And they're like, "Oh, is your family Dutch?" And I'm like, "No, we're not. I just like reading about the Netherlands." Yeah, no, Princess Margriette is actually in Ottawa this weekend. I don't know if you knew that, Dobby. She's actually here to celebrate the festival. I haven't pulled that trick on you yet? Okay, good to know. But yeah, Princess Margriette is in town this weekend. She gave a public address yesterday, but unfortunately I had to work. But yeah, and then after... Oh, don't keep up with the royal house? Oh, okay. Yeah, so Princess Margriette was born in Ottawa during World War II. This is like... It's just Margaret? I don't actually know the Dutch pronunciation, so thank you. Or Marguerite. I'm guessing it's going to be Marguerite. Yeah, so it's... Okay. So it's a really neat piece of history. So during World War II, when the Netherlands was invaded, the royal family fled to England, and Marguerite, yeah, okay. And the king stayed in England and sent, at the time she was Princess Juliana, on to Canada to make sure that she and her children were extra safe. And they were living here in Ottawa. Princess Juliana was pregnant and gave birth here in the Ottawa Civic Hospital. And they So because of the way, um, let's see if I can get this correct, the correct way around. So in Canada, or at least for Canadians, if you're a Canadian citizen, the uh, inheriting your citizenship basically follows your blood. So if I'm a Canadian citizen and I'm gonna have a baby, it doesn't matter where I give birth. Because I'm a Canadian citizen, my child will be a Canadian citizen. But for the Dutch, at least at the time, it was based on place of birth. So if the baby was born in Canada, then the baby would have dual Canadian Dutch citizenship and she wouldn't be able to inherit the Dutch throne. So the Canadian government declared the maternity ward of the Ottawa Hospital to be extraterritorial. Basically, like this room, this tiny room is no longer Canadian territory, so that technically and legally Princess Marguerite wouldn't be born in Canada and she could inherit only Dutch citizenship. And the day that she was born, Ottawa's the Canadian Parliament flew the Dutch flag over Parliament Hill, which is the only time in history that a flag that's not the Canadian one was flown there. And then on top of all of that, the Dutch forces, the Canadian forces played a really, really big hand in the liberation of the Netherlands. Like as far as actually boots on the ground. It was mostly Canadian and British, and some American, but majority Canadian troops that led the campaign to liberate the Netherlands. So because of that, after the war ended, the royal family arranged, well, Princess Juliana specifically, arranged to have like I think 10,000 tulip bulbs sent to Canada as a thank you. And they've just kept sending more ever since. So the Canadian government set up the Tulip Festival as a way to display the tulips and celebrate the ongoing friendship between Canada and the Netherlands. So yeah, Kara and I try to go every year. You've still got Dutch citizenship. Okay, interesting. They might have changed it up. I just know that at the time, they had to declare that the maternity ward was officially not Canadian soil, because otherwise it would have messed up succession somehow. But yeah, it's a really neat part of history and something I've always been really interested in, clearly. There's a couple really good books that have been written about the liberation of the Netherlands. Yeah, no, that's fair, Dobby. That's extremely fair. I'm sure it's not the greatest, especially being able to produce the massive volumes that you need to nowadays. Why Liechtenstein exists in the first place. Yeah, that makes sense. I don't know that specific story, but that absolutely makes sense. I do love the story. There's a bit of like a historical, like, fun fact story where. How did it go? Liechtenstein once tried to invade Italy and nobody died, and they actually came back with more than they started with because there was an Italian soldier that was like, nah, I'd just like to go live in Liechtenstein, and just kind of tagged along. I'd have to look into that more. I don't remember exactly how that went. I just remembered it was sort of a punchline of, yeah, Liechtenstein sent 100 people and came back with 101. Shed, barn. Yeah, probably close. You said, oh, okay, that makes more sense. Yes, it is absolutely why Luxembourg exists in the first place. I was like, Liechtenstein's not necessarily. Yeah, I think that might be right, Dobby. That sounds right. They got assigned an Austrian officer who just decided to stick around. That sounds right. You might have to, Kitsune. I don't remember any of the details, at least not enough to speak on them. People had opinions. Oh no. It's okay, this is a learning stream. Sometimes we learn about geography. Today we're going to learn about history. Sometimes we look up why words exist. Today we're going to look up why countries exist. Ah, stop that. Thread, no. I am using ladder stitch, actually. I know white thread on white fabric is not necessarily the easiest thing to see. So the basting I'm doing is just straight stitching, because it doesn't need to hold, it just needs to be big and it gets cut out anyhow. For the actual joining, let's see if I can get a better view of it here. So I start with a couple whip stitches to anchor the corners. Just as insurance if a thread breaks. Yeah, it's ladder stitch. Yeah, I do whip stitches at the corners to anchor and then ladder stitch in between because it is completely invisible from the front, which is fantastic. The first blanket I made like this, I was using whip stitch to do the joins, which does show through on the front, and it was okay. But it wasn't, like, I didn't really like the look of it. So as soon as I learned that ladder stitch was a thing, I was like, I'm using that forever. It's the best stitch. I should probably keep track of how many hours I've put into this and my other blankets, but I just usually never bother. I suppose now that I'm streaming them, I can look backwards and at least see how many stream hours it's taken. Yeah. Yep, for sure, Kifa. Ladder stitch is good for many things, and it surprises me that it's not taught as often. Like, I had no idea ladder stitch was even a thing until I think I saw a Tumblr post about it that had a gif of somebody doing it, and I was like, oh my god. Alright, we have a lesson from Kite. So modern Luxembourg, Kite can do. It's because it was a contested French Holy Roman Empire border state, and post-Napoleon it was made part of the German Confederation under personal union with the current William on the Netherlands throne. When Belgium gained independence in the 1830s, the Treaty of London gave it, probably meaning Luxembourg, to Belgium. And that's why the UK guaranteed both the Netherlands and Belgium. Interesting. Interesting. So it was given to Belgium, and then I guess instead of incorporating it into Belgium, Belgium decided to... Oh, no. I'm out of pieces, so I'm going to have to close this one. Belgium just decided to sort of spin it off into its own government, I suppose. Wait, I'm trying to remember. Luxembourg... It does share a border with Belgium. No, it doesn't. Because if it doesn't share a border with Belgium... Did I actually not that? Yeah. Because if it doesn't share a border with Belgium, then it makes sense why it would be separate instead of being absorbed. I don't actually remember. And I feel bad now for not remembering. But does it border France and the Netherlands, or does it border France and Belgium? Straddled between Belgium, Germany, and France. Okay. I couldn't remember if it was a little bit more north or a little bit more south. Consolidate an amount of knowledge. Yep. Okay. Pieces. I need to make more pieces. Oh. The noon owl has arrived. It sure do honk. I know. It do big honk. France and the Netherlands don't have a border in Europe unless you count Belgium, but they do have a land border in the Caribbean on the island of St. Martin. Oh, interesting. I didn't know that, Dobby. That's a fun fact. Okay, part 2. About 10 years later, it got partitioned partially along language lines, and that's where we get the independent Grand Duchy's borders. It was still sort of Belgium, still sort of German Confederation. Up until the 1860s, the giant fortress of Luxembourg was manned by Prussian troops on the French border, so there were even more treaties and such to get those removed. Oh my. It's interesting to know that, like, foreign military bases, or, like, I guess, military bases of former colonizers or occupying powers staying around has an older precedent. Because, like, I'm thinking of, like how the US still has military bases in Japan and Germany and kind of all over the place. And like Canada, I know, also has some military bases in I know at least Germany. I think probably other places as well. So it's interesting to know that that sort of thing has even more of a historical precedent. because it's not necessarily something I've ever looked into or studied. Sometimes it's easier just to shove the needle in my mouth. No, that's not going to be enough. Just don't shove the pokey end in my mouth. I've never done that, luckily. I usually, I'll stick it in sideways. I usually don't stick it in, like, either end first. I'll do it sideways and just kind of nom it gently. So full independence for Luxembourg was 1890, which is when the Dutch and Luxembourgian secession lines split. There was a secession crisis I don't remember the details of, but it's one of the sort where place A says the second cousin once removed takes precedence over a daughter or first cousin twice removed, some such, and place B disagrees. So it took 100 years to go from independence of a sort to a distinct nation state. Oh, that makes sense. Thank you, Kite. So it did start out sort of Belgium, and then just kind of became independent. Interesting. Thank you very much. Take this paper. This has been Learning with Kite. It has. Thank you. I much appreciate it. I always like learning new things, especially history things. Now let's ask Kite about time zones. Oh no. Time zones are the worst. Like, I was talking with Rubik a while ago, and apparently they're in a half-hour time zone, which I didn't actually realize was a thing, and that sounds horrifying. I mean, I guess if it's something you're used to and you've grown up with, it's fine, but like, to me, looking in from the outside, that just seems awful. A half-hour time zone would be the worst, and I think we actually do have one in Canada too, because Kara pointed out that Prince Edward Island is on a half-hour time zone, and that just seems ridiculous. Yeah, a half-hour time zone. So, like, right now in, say, Prince Edward Island, instead of being like 2 o'clock, it would be 2:30 at this exact point. Okay, quarter-hour time zones are also new to me, and that sounds even worse. Although my favorite... There was an 8-minute and 23-second time too. Now, I want to say you're kidding. Unless that's the International Space Station. I don't actually know what time the ISS runs on. I'm gonna assume Universal, but who knows? My favorite weird time zone story is that when I moved home from Japan, I actually time traveled because I was going from Shanghai, China backwards to Chicago, Illinois. We took off at 10 o'clock. I think it was 10 o'clock on a Tuesday morning. And when we landed, it was 8 o'clock on a Tuesday morning. because we flew for 14 hours across the time zone backwards. We actually landed before we had taken off. It was wild. Nepal is on 5 3/4. That's incredible. Huh. London, Paris. Really? Huh. See, that I didn't know. I didn't realize that some places' time zones got that exact. That doesn't seem necessary to me, but who knows? I guess it keeps somebody employed somewhere. Tiny bit of Australia on 8 3/4. Oof. Yeah, I know Rubik was saying that there's a couple places in Australia that are. See, now you're all just trying to blow my brain. I dislike time zones, and this is why. Australia is also split on whether or not to observe daylight savings time. Yeah, that sounds right. Daylight savings time exists just to make people argue about it at this point. Yeah, sorry, Dancer. You were gone for 5 minutes and came back to time zone confusion. Yeah, that's fair, Dobby. Time zones are really unfortunate. Our D&D group hates time zones because most of us are in North America, but our DM is in Britain, and then one of our players is in Germany. So we end up being really, really limited on when exactly we can play. Although the FC D&D group does sort of have the same problem, which is unfortunate. Although at least I think most of us are North America except Kite. It's just that we have really restrictive work schedules and such. I might be wrong about Reverb. I don't remember where they're located, but I think most of us are North America. Usually awake in the evening time. Yeah, that's fair. Sometimes the weird sleep schedules have off benefits. Your body functions on US time in a UK time zone. That's a good way of putting it. D&D over the internet is fantastic, but it definitely has its downsides. Um, I really wish we could play in person sometimes, but being able to play over the internet means that we get to play it all, so I'll take it. Yes, eat food. Friends, we are about an hour in. Eat food, drink water, straighten your posture, no shrimping. Thank you, Kate. Yes, also medications. If you need to take those, please do so. Um, I have to set an alarm to water my plants later if it doesn't start raining. Kara and I were at the Home Depot yesterday just for the heck of it, looking at their garden center, and found like an all-in-one herb box. So it was pre-planted with rosemary, chives, violets, lemon thyme, and something else, oregano. So we brought it home and stuck it on the porch, and I gotta remember to water it so that we can have yummy kitchen herbs, nice and fresh. And if it's not raining after stream, I told her I'd go out again and pick up a thing of dill, or like a pot of dill, because that's the one other herb that she would use fresh all the time that wasn't in the box. Yeah, lesbians chilling at Home Depot. I know, it's weird. Okay, but the most lesbian thing I've ever done is when our dryer broke. I went upstairs, started Googling the owner's manual. I didn't actually disassemble the dryer, but I poked it enough that I realized what the problem was. Was Googling the owner's manual to it, figured out the part number that needed to be replaced. So when I emailed the rental company, I was like, here's the actual part number, here's exactly what's wrong with it. I could totally fix it myself if it wouldn't void the warranty. And then, of course, when they sent the maintenance man in, they had not forwarded my email to him. So he did not have the part that I had told them they needed, and he had to do his own evaluation. But in the end, I felt vindicated because I was right. And exactly what I said was wrong was what was wrong. I totally could have fixed it myself. And I was kind of mad that Kara didn't let me, because I could have ordered the part off Amazon for like $24. And it would have been fixed way faster than waiting for the rental company to do it. But yeah, we tend to have alarms set for stuff too. Kara's got one set to take her medications, and then another one 5 minutes later that says, "Bitch, did you take them?" Because there's been a couple times where she'll just turn off the alarm and either be like, yeah, I'll take them. If she's in the middle of something, she'll just kind of like, yeah, I'll take them, and flip the alarm off, and then forget by the time she's finished whatever she was busy with. So she ended up setting a second alarm that's like, okay, but did you actually take them? But since she set the second alarm, she has never forgotten to take them. Because usually 5 minutes is enough time that she'll have finished whatever she was busy with. And she'll be like, oh yeah, I do need to take those. The reason I keep flipping these is, I don't know if it shows up on camera, but most of them have a subtle pattern to them, so I'm checking to make sure I'm on the wrong side. They're also all subtly different. Again, I don't know if that comes through on camera, but all of the well, most of the white pieces, there are some doubles, but the white pieces are all different fabrics and they all have a subtle white on white pattern to them. I think it just adds a little bit of extra interest to it. Also, it's keeps me entertained and it's less boring. Ow. I'm fine. Just hadn't quite moved my thumb far enough. Nope. Come on. There we go. Should probably sharpen this needle. I think I was saying that last week too. No, last week was crochet. I was saying it at some point, and it's still true. Come on. There we go. Oh no, Dancer. Aww. Oh no, that's so mean. That's horrible. And I feel like that's a very elaborate form of suicide. Because Y'shtola would kill you if you did that. I don't think she'd even hesitate. Should probably actually count how many more white pieces I need. But it's not a big deal if I make too many, because they'll just get used for the next round. If Y'shtola didn't get you the librarians would. Absolutely. I still can't quite figure out where your work ends in crochet. Yeah, that's fair. It does take some practice, especially depending on the stitch you're doing. I'm working on several different scarves at the moment. And some of them are easier than others. Okay. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And I've got 4. Oops. Sasha is around somewhere. I think she's downstairs, napping in the windowsill, actually. That's where she was when I went down for coffee. And I reached over and kind of scritched her, and she looked up and gave me a sleepy mlem and then curled right back up again. And I told her I was coming upstairs to stream, but she's pretty comfy where she is. So she may or may not wander up here. Yeah, so this is a hexagon template that's actually meant for cutting the fabric. So the inside hexagon here is supposed to be like your finished size, and then this is technically seam allowance, but the entire thing is actually the exact size that I need my papers for this particular project, so I'm just using it as a paper template. I actually have a whole set of these. I think I've got a total of 8 or 10 of them that range from, so this one's marked with a C. So A and B are both smaller. I think the smallest one is a 1/2 inch, and then it goes all the way up. I think the largest is a 6 inch. Yeah, they're super, super handy. But I'm just using this one as a paper template because it happens to be the right size. And then the same kind of goes for my fabric pieces. So you'll see a lot of English paper piecers that will cut their fabric like into the actual shape. Like they'll cut with an exact quarter seam allowance. I'm lazier than that. And I know that this size hexagon tessellates really well onto a 2.5 inch square. And it's much, much easier to just cut my fabric into 2.5 inch squares than to waste the time and effort cutting a ton of hexagons. It's a little bit more excess fabric, but I don't mind that too much. It saves me a lot of time and effort with the cutting. Food in the oven. Yay. What kind of food? I'll have to try to figure out what I'm gonna eat after this too. Didn't really think that far ahead today. Ooh, beef brisket sounds good. If it's not raining and I go out for dill, maybe I'll stop and get myself a flatbread or something. Ooh, yeah, beef brisket on brioche sounds delicious. Very good food. Are you gonna stream this afternoon, Merlin? Or no? We've both been so busy all week, I haven't really talked to you much. Yes, Kitsune, absolutely. Lettuce, maybe some green onion, I mean, green food coloring. Yeah, healthy is relative. Anything's healthy if you say it is. Anything is healthy if it keeps you alive. Pardon, need coffee. Sorry about that. Okay. Red onion would be good. Red onion with beef brisket. Sounds yummy. I mean, sparingly maybe. I tend to find red onion to be very biting and sharp, so I use it much, much more sparingly than I would like yellow or white onion. But that's just me, maybe. Oh no. It sucks, Merlin. I hope everything will be okay and work out all right. But some strem is good strem. Fried chicken is covered in breadcrumbs. Bread comes from wheat. Wheat is a plant, thus fried chicken is healthy. Absolutely. That sounds perfectly logical to me. Which of this? Okay, that's the wrong side. I mean, Marilyn, you don't have to share anything you don't want to. Not even with me. I just hope everything works out okay for you. Yeah, red onion. Okay, this... I don't know if this will make sense to anyone else, but because I'm allergic to peppers, like green peppers, red peppers, spicy peppers, all of them, my brain will sometimes, I guess, short circuit a little bit, and it'll start telling me that things taste spicy even if they're not really spicy, because it's just close enough that it's triggering my brain's, oh no, you might be allergic to this response. So like the other day, Kara made this like a slaw to go with dinner that was, it was a cabbage slaw, and I don't remember exactly what was in the sauce for it, but none of it was spicy. None of it was stuff I was allergic to, but it tasted very spicy to me because, I don't know, my brain was triggering the hey, you might be allergic to this, don't eat it button, even though I absolutely was not allergic to it. And red onion can sometimes do the same thing to me. I'm not allergic to red onions, but sometimes especially if there's too many of them in a dish, it'll like start banging on the spicy button in my brain. So they tend to taste weirdly spicy to me. Brains are weird. I think we've established this. yeah, I think I forgot to mention earlier. If so, when I start working this new job, um, I'm pretty sure it's when now, not if, and I'm trying to be very positive. Um, it'll probably be around the first week of June-ish, because I have to give my 2 weeks at my old place. Um, and then depending on what my training schedule looks like, I think I might up my Sunday streams from 3 hours to four, at least for a while, to see how it goes. Because that'll partially depend on my hands. Like if I can comfortably sew for 4 hours at a stretch without my hands getting too crunchy. Speaking of, I shall stretch. Everyone else stretch as well. Um, so we'll see how that goes. And I think I'm also gonna start a third stream during the week. Probably Tuesday nights, I think is what Kara and I kind of decided. Because Tuesday is usually Kara's day off anyway. And I would alternate that between, like I would do it as a gaming stream one week and then a crafting stream the other week. And with Kara being home, it would give us the option of like doing co-op streams and stuff if we wanted. Because we've actually started playing Core Keeper co-op, and it's really, really fun. And I think it would be fun to stream that. So that might be a thing we start doing. Be like a chair, back upright, weight firmly over your legs, well padded, comfy for the cat. Yes, exactly. Everybody be like a chair. Yeah, Core Keepers, it's really fun. It's okay to play solo. Like, I was playing it solo for a little while before I bought it for Kara. But it's really, really fun to play co-op. And it works out well because it feels a lot like Stardew Valley, wherein there's farming mechanics, there's fishing mechanics, there's crafting mechanics, there's also combat mechanics. So when you're playing co-op, you can kind of play how you want, and you'll probably have somebody covering all the aspects. Like for me, I really like the farming and the fishing, and then being able to craft the food from the stuff and throw it in a box so that Kara will have it. And then Kara likes going out and exploring more of the cave and killing the creatures and all that kind of stuff. So it works out really well when we play together. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. And it looks like the devs have some really, really fun updates and like new biomes and stuff planned. Yeah, so it's really fun. I've really been enjoying it. I might coerce her into like some actual Stardew Valley co-op as well, because it's been a long time since I played Stardew Valley. I have to remember how to activate all my mods on Stardew Valley. And Core Keeper is also nice too because it reminds me a lot of like Terraria or Starbound as far as like collecting resources and stuff and destroying your environment to be able to explore. But it doesn't have the platforming aspects, which is really nice because Terraria and Starbound are games that I really should like. Like, they kind of tick all the boxes of things that I like, but they're too platformy. Like, there's too much jumping and like managing your vertical space, which I'm not good at, and I don't enjoy it. Like, I don't enjoy having to build stairs and ladders and such to explore. Um, and Court Keeper is all horizontal, at least that I've found so far. So it works out a little bit better for my spatial sense and for my enjoyment. Yeah, that's wrong side. Sasha hasn't even been up here today, and yet her fur is everywhere. As it should be. Yeah, so when I went downstairs to get coffee, she's curled up on, she's got a cat pan with a nice fleece blanket that's right underneath the windowsill where she can watch traffic. And she was curled up in there. And I scritched her and I told her I was coming upstairs to stream, but she hasn't come up, so I presume she's still downstairs in the windowsill. My door's wide open. I'm sure she can hear my voice. She just hasn't decided to come visit yet today. Oh no. Yeah, I'm sorry for any continuing hiccups. I will check for updates after this stream. Yes, absolutely. She's gotta see if there's any traffic that she might be able to eat. I mean, when we lived at our old place, our neighbor across the street was a little old lady that we kept saying Sasha was gonna try to, or was trying to eat her. Because she'd just sit at the window and, like, her tail would do the lashing back and forth thing. And she would just glare at this old lady every time she was out, like, working in her garden. And we don't know why. Like, we never met the old lady. We had nothing to do with her. Sasha just, for some reason, decided that she was the devil. Yeah, I have no idea. Just that one particular old lady. I mean, we've established that Sasha's a very strange goblin. She doesn't need logic for the things she does. Ooh, another benefit to this new job, I'll get to start doing my nails again. I like having my nails done, but I don't bother at my current job because it's so much like manual labor and opening boxes and peeling off price labels, and my nails would just chip within half a day of me having them painted. But if this new job is mostly office work, I'll be able to paint my nails again. And actually have them stay looking nice for more than a day at a time. hexagons so tiny? Oh, these are not... So these are 1-inch hexagons. So typically, when you're talking in terms of sewing, you'll measure them along one side and say that that's what the size is. So these are 1-inch hexagons. I've seen people do 1/2-inch hexagons. Like literally about the size of my thumbnail. Like tiny, tiny, tiny ones. I would not have that patience. Yeah, long project is long, but I mean, soothing project is also soothing. I find hand sewing to be very soothing and calming, so it's definitely not for everyone, for sure, but it's something that I very much enjoy. I should show you guys at some point the project that I'm doing for me. It's kind of, well, actually, yeah, let me find that. It's on hold at the moment because I've been trying to finish these couple for my family. But I have kind of a magnum opus that I've been working on for literally years. Let me grab the pieces for you. Oh, yeah, my stunning pajama pants here. Yeah, there it is. So if you want to see small hand sewn pieces, slide myself in behind my camera. Ugh. Fast big work is also valid, Yalk. Absolutely. Sometimes these projects are frustrating in that I feel like I've been working on them forever and they've gotten nowhere, but at the same time, then when you step back and look at how much work you have done, it's so satisfying. Okay, so these are 1-inch hexagons. This is kind of the scrap project I'm working on for me. These are also 1-inch hexagons, followed by 1-inch squares, and then in between 1-inch triangles. So this is called a carnival wheel pattern. And I really, really hate throwing away scrap fabric. So this is how I use all of the tiny, tiny, tiny little scraps that are left over from other projects. I've got a couple boxes over on my desk that are all the individual pieces. I've got one box for squares and one box for triangles. This is also usually my travel project because I can take, I've got a bunch of the papers pre-cut and a bunch of the scrap fabrics pre-cut, and I can just bring it with me and kind of work on it on the go. Yeah. So I've actually got, this isn't all of it. I've got another piece this size that's finished. I'm finishing it in sort of smaller blocks first, and then at the end I'll start sewing all the blocks together. But yeah, this is sort of my eventual project. This is my retirement project, in that by the time I finally retire, maybe it'll be done. But this isn't for anyone. This is just for me, because it's all the scraps from everything I've ever done. And so it's fabrics that I don't have anymore. I don't have large pieces of anymore, but ones that I really like. So I get to keep a little piece of them for me. And I feel like I'm not wasting as much. So yeah. So yeah, that's sort of that's my other project. Once I actually finish these projects for my sibs, I'll probably be working on this on stream off and on, because that's the project I'm going to be working on forever. Yeah. No, I know, Yalk. I know. Yeah, I've accepted that there's probably no retirement, but you can kind of dream. Also, good morning, Kuma. I see you in there. What was I doing? This is what I was doing. Yeah, cabbage composting, because I feel bad about throwing away any scraps that are larger than an inch. even then, I actually have a jar that's stuffed of all of my smaller scraps because when I make cat toys for Sasha, I'll usually stuff them with the fabric scraps instead of fiberfill. Both because, again, recycling, and also because then it's safer for her if she somehow manages to rip the toy open rather than all of the plastic polyfill. She'll just have fabric scraps instead. Pensions sometimes still exist. I would actually have a pension plan at my new job, but that's because it's a unionized university position. And it wouldn't be a lot, but it would be something. Yes, absolutely, Elk. I will agree with you there. I try not to use it. I actually have a bag of it because I bought it when I was first learning to sew. And I don't know what to do with it, so it's just kind of been sitting in my closet. But yeah, I try not to use it. It's messy, it's scratchy, it's not healthy if, the kid or the pet or whoever manages to rip the thing open. Polyfill is the last thing that you want them to be, playing with or, God forbid, eating. So yeah, I try to use fabric scraps to stuff things instead. I mean, yeah, that's hopefully your partner's not going to be ripping it open and eating it, Kifa. Yeah, bamboo-based fill is good. They also do bamboo-based like quilt batting too, which is fantastic. I try to use either bamboo or just a layer of flannel if I want a lighter weight blanket. Don't even bother put a batting in, just put a layer of really nice thick flannel in between the quilting and the back. Oh, and you might also be wondering, so the thread that I'm using, oh no, that label's really, so the thread that I'm using is very specifically a cotton hand quilting thread. And so what it is it's treated, it's a little bit thicker than like your typical machine yarn. And it's treated so that it doesn't tangle and twist as readily as like your machining thread would. I know in the olden days they used to wax it to make it easier for quilting. I'm not sure if it's still a wax or if it's a different treatment they put on it. But yeah, that's the thread I'm using. I'm pretty sure it's just, yeah, it's cotton. So It works well. It will, crucially, it will shrink at the same rate as the fabric if you're using cotton fabric for quilting. Sometimes it can be a problem if you quilt with a different composition of thread than what your fabric is, because the thread will shrink either more or less than the actual fabric does, and it'll pull it weird. Still have to wax linen thread. Yeah, that makes sense. Like I said, I'm not sure if this is actually waxed or if it's treated in a different way now, but it is definitely treated so that it doesn't twist or tangle as much. Nope, verb. Also, yes, I know this is still the brown thread. I hate wasting thread as much as I hate wasting fabric. And with ladder stitch, it doesn't really show. So I make a habit of trying to do the actual joining with white thread, but if not, it's not a huge deal. It'll only show a tiny bit at the corners with the whip stitches, if at all. Oh, that's a clock. It's supposedly that was a, I'm squinting, I can't read the name from here. I think that's a type of finch. But yeah, it's one of the Audubon birdsong clocks. He loud. Putting their needle behind every fabric thread. See, I feel like that would actually be, well, I mean, I guess because at that point you're just essentially weaving more fabric, but that almost feels like it would weaken the seam because you're separating the fabric too much. I don't know. Like, I'm all for tight hand stitching, but A, that would take forever, and B, it feels a little bit like it would actually weaken the fabric. Don't know if that would be true or not, though. filet crochet. I've heard of that, and that's not a thing I know how to do myself either. So have at it. Or is that... I'm trying to think if that's a different name for something else I already know. Because I've been really into entrelac crochet lately. It big fun. Which I can show you that too. Because that I all have conveniently within reach of my chair. Alright, where'd the needle go? Or the hook? There it is. Oh god, I really need to finish some of these scarves. You move. Not like that. Up there. Okay, that works too. Oh god. The yarn is falling. It's fine. Chains and double crochets in a grid. Oh, yeah. Neat. It's a little too much color changing for me, I think. But yeah, it sounds fun. So this is entrelac crochet, where essentially you're making, it's a hybrid between crochet and knitting. So you're using a crochet hook and you're using crochet techniques, but you're carrying multiple loops on your hook, and it imitates the look of knitting depending on how you're doing your stitches. In this particular pattern, you end up making little squares, and you can see they kind of go up in a stair-step pattern. So you do your rows and you go up, and then you finish it across and start here and do your rows up. But yeah, it's really fun and I'm really enjoying it. This is the one I'm making for my sister and brother-in-law. Again, kind of hoping to have it done by the time we go down to visit for Christmas, and it's getting pretty big. My brother-in-law is like 6'2", so I'm trying to make it really, really big so that he'll be able to functionally use it as well. But yeah, this is a really nice, fun stitch to do. Stay there. But at this point, I can only work on that blanket if Sasha's not on my lap, because she gets very annoyed if I try to drape it over her. Which is fair. It is heavy and it is quite warm. Hopefully my camera's focusing all right at this height. If I do need to move it a bit higher and it's not focusing well, please feel free to let me know. It's supposed to autofocus, but I don't think it always does. Yeah, exactly, Yalk. I want to try to give him something he can snuggle up into. but also trying to balance it with not making it too giant and unwieldy, if that makes sense. Camera has ADHD, about to hyperfocus on a completely different project. Yeah, I mean, the camera or the camera person? I've shown you like 4 different projects I have in progress just today. And that doesn't count the 4 half-finished scarves that are also right next to me. Yeah, I knew that would get you too, Kifa. I mean, yeah. I just like bouncing between different projects, okay? I can't work on the same thing constantly. You can't ask me to. Come on. Right. I think you forgot... Yelk, I think you forgot a knot in there. You must have mistyped. I think it's supposed to be crafters not having a dozen projects at once is inconceivable. Yeah. Yeah, that's a big mood, Kifa. I just kind of have to keep telling myself that all the big, impressive projects that I stare at and drool over on Instagram all still got done one piece at a time. And I just kind of have to keep doing one piece at a time. But yeah, I know that's real hard. Again, that's half of why I started streaming, because if I know for a fact that this time is set aside every week and that I will be working on crafting, that's at least progress. And if I'm streaming and I'm on camera, it is progress. I am working for these 3 hours, not, you know, getting distracted by Board Game Arena or Discord or, you know, whatever's going on outside the window. I at least know for a fact I'm gonna be getting some work done. So, yeah, thank you guys for keeping me company, because I very much appreciate it. Oh no! Boop Yalk too. Boop Miller for us. But yes, feel free to lurk. Lurking is also appropriate and fun. And yeah, I invite anyone that has a project to spend this time working on it as well. Join me in dedicated crafting time if you feel like it. Ah, nope, through both sides of the fabric. Yeah, that's a huge mood too, Kitsune. Coding is one of those things that it would be a really nice skill to have, and I have ideas for things that I might be able to accomplish with coding, but it's really intimidating. Working on a commission sketch. Ooh. Also, I saw the art exchange piece you did on Instagram. It's really pretty. I love the coloring job you did on that. No, that's not what I need. I need thread. I'm paying attention. I'm awake, I swear. I'm not, but that's okay. I mean, the gear was the important part. That Aglaya gear is gorgeous, and you did like such a nice job on it. It looks so pretty. Also, soft Vieira ears. I want to pet them. More Sasha contributions. Luckily, neither my brother nor my sister-in-law are allergic to cats. So I'm just really keeping my fingers crossed that their kid isn't either. Because there's going to be so much cat hair tangled up in this that I just will not have any way to remove. Because Sasha's fur is so fine. I could lint roller this all day. I could lint roller this until there wasn't any fabric left, and yet there would somehow still be cat hair left. Vroom vroom outside. Felt the floor shake on that one. second. Phone keeps buzzing. I just want to make sure it's not Kara or anything else equally important. Oh, no, it is just my phone company letting me know that my bill is prepared. And Duolingo yelling at me. That's fine. I will tend to you after stream, Owl. Duolingo, for me, has been very helpful. I can see how for some other people it might not be. But in my case, I studied Japanese in university, and the way that my professor taught and the way that my textbooks were laid out was very grammar focused, which was perfect for me because I really like and I need to know why I'm saying something a certain way. So if you can like lay out the grammar for me very logically, it's perfect. So that worked very well for me. But by the time I graduated university, I know how to say a lot of things, but I don't necessarily have the vocabulary. So like I know how to form the sentence, but I don't necessarily know the words for the nouns or the things I want to convey. So Duolingo's been really good for that, for helping to expand my vocabulary. From a standpoint of teaching grammar and like actually teaching you how to say things, I don't think it works as well. But that might just be me. And that might vary by language too. But for me, since what I chiefly need is more vocabulary, it works out really well. I wonder if Twitch chat will render kana. It should. I mean, I know Twitch itself can render kanji and kana because I've seen it in like stream titles and like streamer names and such. I'm not sure about Twitch chat. Yay, Kitsune, go do your owl. Everybody should go do their owl if they haven't already. Except for me, because I'll do mine after. Good grief. That's a van with no muffler. Maybe we should add that to the self-care bot. Drink water, stretch, take your medications, do your Duolingo. I mean, that's fair, Dancer. Language, especially Japanese, can be very difficult. Coming from English as a base to Japanese in particular is very difficult. My professor. Ah, hajimemashite. Cool, it does render kana. Neat. My professor used to give us the statistic that when the when the US Department of, I don't know, ambassadors would send ambassadors overseas for the Romance and Latin languages, so like French, Spanish, German, they'll give you like a 1 to 2 day course in the intensive course in the language and then just send you. For ambassadors to most of the Asian countries, so China, Japan, Korea, Taiwan, Thailand, all of those, the language courses are like minimum 6 weeks because just everything is so different from English. The pronunciations, the grammar, the writing systems, everything is so completely alien that you need much more time to be able to absorb it and wrap your head around it when your English is a first language. Which makes perfect sense to me. Although it was really interesting because I studied French in high school and I was never like super fluent or very good at it, and I've lost all of it now. But having learned a little bit of French and then going into Japanese, it was really interesting because Japanese grammar is actually more similar to French than it is to English. So having the little bit of a French base actually gave me a little bit more of an insight, I guess, into how the Japanese grammar was gonna work, because it was a similar sort of structure. Hajimemashite, aria desu. Maria. I claim no knowledge of that. I can neither confirm nor deny any sort of connection with your Duolingo app, Kitsune. Especially since that's not my real name and that's not the name I went by in Japan. So I don't know. Maybe your Duolingo's just listening to you. Or listening to me, I guess. Interesting. Okay. That's a setting I'm gonna have to go in and fix. Sorry, Kitsune. I had no idea it was going to do that. No, Nightbot didn't like that. I'm gonna go fix that. I mean, if it decides to let me. Come on, laptop. I know we've been going for a while and you're tired. But, huh. Good to know. So it can render them, but it doesn't seem to recognize, or at least Nightbot doesn't recognize them as language. Interesting. Let's see here. There. Disable. There we go. Disable that. There you go, Kitsune. You should now be able to post Japanese to your heart's content. Nope. Mix that. Okay. Oh no. Yeah, I've definitely done that before, Yalk. I pick it back up and I'm like, okay, wait. Or, specifically one of the scarves that I was working on, I had to stare at it for a while and try to figure out what stitch pattern I was using. Because it had been so long, I was like, alright, I know this is a variation, but which variation was I on about at this time? Oh, my tummy's growling. I'm definitely gonna have to figure out lunch after this. And this time there's no Sasha holding me down. we go. Oof. Yeah. Good luck. Are you starting on... Oh no, you're doing a bag, right? Yeah, good luck. I hope you have guessed right. Frogging is already such a pain. It doesn't need to be worse. Sasha's very good at making car exhaust noises from all the way downstairs, somehow. I mean, if you'd heard her snore. Yeah, car exhaust noises, just like that. Miller snores wispy like a gas leak. Oh. I love that somehow the largest animals tend to have like the softest snores, and somehow the smallest animals have the most hideously loud echoing snores. Like Sasha snores like a sawmill. But then again, she's also got diagnosed kitty asthma, so that probably has something to do with it. Also, hello, Miller, who's a good boy. The other day, Muja tuned in, and apparently, when my bird clock went off, Luffy went actually absolutely wild. Because he wanted to find the bird. And I felt really bad. Muja said it was just funny, but I felt bad because he apparently jolted up out of a sound sleep and was like, "Bird? Bird? Where bird?" Oh, so he snores exactly like a gas leak. Oh no. Welp. Come on. There we go. Toe twitches and soft dream growls. Aw. Yeah, I bet. Sasha was once having such an intense dream that she was doing like, the paw twitches and the tail twitches and the little sleep growls, but they just got progressively worse and worse until she jerked awake, lifted her head, and hissed really loudly, and then just kind of looked around extremely confused. So I don't know what she was dreaming about, and I don't know if she was hissing at the dream or like hissing at herself for waking herself up. But yeah, it was really funny. Whip stitch or ladder stitch for a tear? Ooh, what kind of fabric would be my first question. Second question would be how frayed are the edges? Because if the edges are incredibly frayed, then the ladder stitch won't hold. But if it's a fairly clean tear, cotton over a knee. Ooh. You might be able to get away with a ladder stitch then. If it's along the grain and it's not super frayed, you could definitely try a ladder stitch, because that wouldn't leave a ridge. Blanket stitch would also work. Blanket stitch is sort of a good in-between. I mean, any of them will work. It's just a matter of how visible you want it to be. If you're going to do whip stitch, I would say turn it inside out and do the whip stitch to the inside. Because that'll leave the ridge on the inside, unless that's going to bother you when it rubs against your knee. Because it'll leave a seam similar to like the toe of your sock. depending on how much of the fabric you gather. That is the benefit of ladder, is that it doesn't leave a ridge, but you have to have a solid enough fabric that it's not just going to pull right through. Blanket stitch is the one that ends up kind of looking like an L. You do a whip, but then instead of you do a whip stitch, but then put your needle through the loop so that the loop catches on the thread that you pull out and makes like a little L shape instead of just being a straight loop. Mattress stitch I'm not as familiar with. I don't remember if that's the same thing or if that's a slightly different stitch. Blanket stitch is called blanket stitch because it's usually used for edging blankets. And it kind of ends up looking a little bit like a crochet chain stitch from the top. Where's Sasha? Half double crochet is probably tight enough. depending on what you're gonna be carrying in it, if it's just gonna be like a grocery bag or for larger items, half double crochet should be fine. Also, yes, that fish is very rude, Dobby. You should make sure you catch it just to show it who's boss. Is it one of the big fish, or is it just a normal run-of-the-mill bastard fish? Oh, boo. Yeah, that's the worst. I'm sorry. Hopefully the window will come around again soonish. And then you can show it who's boss. How was your brisket, Kitsune? Was it as delicious as it sounded? Yeah, that's true. There's always more fish. Even if you've caught all the fish, there's always more fish. Good, I'm glad. Om nom 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 nom. It's a foxy cow world out there. Yeah, that's fair, Dobby. Take it in small chunks. Fishing is one of those things that's very easy to get overwhelmed by, so take it at your own pace, however much you find fun. Yeah, that's also valid, and that's a pretty good way to look at it, too. If you can catch everything with a certain bait and clear it, perfect. No, go through the fabric. Thank you. Debate. Boo. Boo. I know. I live with Kara. Every time I boo her puns, she just starts cackling and usually comes up with a worse one. Yeah, pretty much. That was, I don't remember the context of that, but that sums up a lot of our relationship, yeah. We hadn't even started drinking at that point. That was right at the beginning of the reception. But it's such a perfect photo. Just Kara with her head thrown back, cackling maniacally, and me with my head down on the table. Just given up. It's fine. I wouldn't have married her if I couldn't stand the puns. But it also doesn't do to give her too much free rein, so I have to keep booing. That's the give and take that works here. Alright. Finish probably this last seam and call it for the day. But I'll probably go ahead and finish these over the course of the week so we can start on a new block come next week. I should probably bite the bullet and do another star, huh? The stars are so much more work. Oh no, now you're both doing it. Yeah. I mean, wordplay is fundamental to our relationship because here's the thing. I always groan loudly at Kara's puns, or tell her to stop, or just kind of sigh. Up until there are the rare occasions where I'll come up with a really good one and just kind of deliver it deadpan. And it'll kill everybody in the room because they're not expecting it from me. And those are the best times of my life. Mine are not so often puns. I have a lot of dad humor that I'll just kind of drop when people are least expecting it. No, come on. There we go. Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. Nobody ever expects me to be the one making the jokes, so when I do, it's pretty good. It doesn't happen often, but sometimes my wit'll strike at like just the right moment. I don't usually have like the back and forth with Kara where we'll just kind of bounce puns off each other. It'll be more like I'll just think of one really good one and be like, oh, like blah. But yeah, I guess I should bite the bullet and start on another star. There's so much more work. Oh. Like mlem. Mlem. me take those papers out too. Derp. Come on, through the fabric, not through the paper. Through more than one thread of the fabric. There we go. Hey! Cleared 4 fishing spots. Nicely done. Have fun with Savage. Stop you. Blah. Blep. Have fun with Savage. Thank you for stopping by, Dobby. Enjoy your day. Or evening, I should say. And good luck with Savage. If you're still on Burb, my extra sympathies. Burb commanded Burb actually occurring. Oh no. Yeah. Our TV has an app for Twitch, and the delay usually doesn't seem to be too bad. The lag is usually the other way for mine though. Wait, no, you're right. Things show up in chat before the streamer reacts to them. Yes, correct. I'm awake now. I'm just hungry. That's gonna be my excuse. I have coffee, I am awake, but I am in fact getting quite hungry. So I will finish off these stitches and then call it so that I can go eat. Yeah, thank you for joining me. We got a decent amount done today. I got a chance to show off some other projects. Thank you to my followers. Thank you for anyone who's willing to take a look at Chris's GoFundMe. Even if it's just to spread the word, we really, really appreciate it. Every little bit helps and gets us just a little bit closer. So thank you so much. I will tie off this knot. The GoFundMe page is also down in my About description as well, so it can always be found there. Let me tie off this knot before I forget to. Otherwise I will forget to. Yes, it should be, no, it should be Chris, unless I misspelled it or accidentally have it set to moderator only. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, it is the Chris command. So yeah, it can be pulled up in chat, and I also have it down in my description. So yes, thank you everybody. Thank you for tuning in. I will be back on Wednesday night for Pokemons, and then following that, I should be back next Sunday for probably not this one. Like I said, I'll probably finish this off, but we'll have a new one to start. So let's see who I can go raid. Since there's no Julie today. Oh, Merlin's already live. Excellent. I wasn't sure what time she was gonna start, so let's go raid Merlin. Merlin is doing fabulous art. I think she's coloring things today, which is always my favorite thing to watch. So yeah, thank you guys for stopping by, and I'll see you next week.